great day, everyone. I'm Jerisha Hawk here. Today, we're going to be talking about the enemy within. I think a lot of the time as we're growing in our business and developing our entrepreneurial skills, there's this enemy that's within inside of us that is preventing us from experiencing the level of success that we're working towards. And today I'm going to share with you the 5 most common ways that you are self-sabotaging your business success. I think a lot of the time as we're growing in our business, we don't realize how much our subconscious, our inner thoughts, what's going on internally within our mental or what we're thinking, how that's really playing a huge role in our ability to succeed and our ability to get the results that we keep planning and putting in our journals. So I want to share with you guys some of the most common ways that you are self-sabotaging your business success and what you need to be doing differently so you can move forward and start to experience the results that you want. So as you guys are popping in and catching this live or catching this in the replay, I'd love for you to pop in the comments, say, hey, if something resonates with you, let me know. And if you think that this information is helpful at some point, feel free to share this video too. So the 5 most common ways you're self-sabotaging your business success. So before we even dive into what those 5 different things are, I want to get clear to make sure that you understand what self-sabotage is. And self-sabotage is when you do something that gets in the way of the intent or the bigger goal or the bigger dream that you have. So if you are taking action and making decisions that are not in alignment with the goals that you're setting for yourself, that is a form of self-sabotage. And it's like, you know, you want something, but somehow you never end up accomplishing it. And maybe you've experienced that in your business or in another area of your life, but like how often have you set goals in your business, but you keep not accomplishing them? Or how long have you been working towards launching your business, starting your business, converting your first client, being able to repeat the success you've seen, but you still find yourself in the situation where like you keep not accomplishing it. You keep not achieving the goal. You keep falling into the same rut, into the same pattern. More than likely, that's because there's some form of self-sabotage that's overriding and defaulting. You know, because somewhere deep in your subconscious, you're fighting against your goal. And the most important thing for you to do so you can become more successful in your business is to, 1, recognize what your most common self-sabotaging behavior is, and that's happening subconsciously where you're really not even aware or fully conscious that it's happening, and learn how to rewrite that habit. Learn how to you know, when that form of self-sabotage creeps up, learning how to use the tools and develop the tools in your tool belt to be able to do something different. So you may not see how disorganization distracts you or how you're constantly overthinking all of your decisions, leaving you practically paralyzed with inaction. And I know this is something that's common. It was common for me, and it still creeps up for me now, even in my business, something that I have to be more aware of. But I know this is something that happens a lot to our students once they are making a decision about joining services that sell, or once they do enroll in services that sell, is they have to overcome these self-sabotaging thoughts and behaviors. And we have to realize that our actions to certain situations end up causing bigger problems for us in the long run if we're making actions and making choices and making decisions that aren't actually serving the person that we want to become and that aren't serving or in alignment with the goals that we want to achieve. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to what self-sabotage is, okay? So the first form of self-sabotage that is most common for entrepreneurs and business owners that really prevents them from getting the success that they want is procrastination. And just let me know how many of you actually struggle with procrastination, meaning that instead of tackling an important project in a timely manner or doing the thing that's on your to-do list, that's been on your to-do list for a week, a month, a year, you allow yourself to, you know, kind of wait until the last second. You know, you'll keep pushing it off or changing the due date so you can keep procrastinating on it, or you wait until the absolute last minute, like right before it's due. And it's hard to, you know, like overcome this, I think, for a lot of individuals. I think procrastination is probably one of the most common self-sabotaging behaviors. Somebody said they invented procrastination, but it's like you start setting deadlines and mini deadlines to work. You know, you just keep kind of changing the goal, or you keep pushing it off. And one thing for you, as we're going through these 5 most common ways of self-sabotage, I want you to make a mental note or pull out your pen and paper and write down, when do you most commonly do this thing? So for you, if you really struggle with procrastination, when do you notice that procrastination creeps up the most, right? What activity, or is it when it really just comes to your business? Is it when it comes to selling your services? Is it when it comes to being visible and putting yourself out there? Like, when does this form of self-sabotage creep up for you? And it's difficult. Like, the thing that for you to start overcoming this self-sabotage is, like I said, one, you need to identify when it's actually happening. So when do you start procrastinating most? And then from there, instead of, I think a lot of the time we will set goals of what we want to, how do I say this? We set goals of what we want to do versus setting a goal or a deadline around the result that we want to achieve. Like, a lot of the time we plan the result, we don't plan the process. So when it comes to procrastination, I think a lot of the huge reason why this is a form of self-sabotage for so many of us is when we make our to-do list, we write down the result that we want. Write the blog post, launch my business, convert 5 clients. You write down the result, but you're not writing down the process. So if you want to convert 5 clients, what actions need to take place in order for that to be true? Or if you want to do the live stream video, okay, what things need to take place in order for that result to happen? So I think that's a way for you to kind of override that form of self-sabotage is, one, get very clear on when is it creeping up for you most often, and then make sure, are you setting a goal of the result that you want, or are you setting a goal, is your to-do list based on the process that needs, like, what are the steps of the process? So if you want to do a live stream video, okay, you need to write your caption. What are the 3 bullet points that you want to talk about in your video? What date and what time are you going to do it? So then you're planning the process, not planning the result. Does that make sense? So that's the number one, the first most common way self-sabotage, or that you may be self-sabotaging your business with, is with procrastination. And that may be procrastination with doing something, like getting a task done, or it might be procrastination in even making a decision, right? I think so often, I see this a lot of the times happen with students before they enroll in services that sell, they procrastinate on making the decision. When do I launch my business? When is it the right time for me to start selling my services? They procrastinate and say, okay, I'm going to create more content. I'm going to make sure my website is prettier. Make sure my Instagram news feed is popping. Like, they keep creating and putting other things on their to-do list, procrastinating from the thing that they actually want, which is to make money. And if you're not doing the activities that you know when you're procrastinating, like, you researching online for an hour and a half, trying to find cute quotes to put on your Instagram feed is not going to help you get more clients. Like, that. Like, I really do believe that you know that, but that form of self-sabotage in the form of procrastination is because you are delaying doing the things that really are in alignment with what will help you achieve the goal that you want to achieve. If you want to make money, you need to learn how to sell. You need to be doing revenue generating activities that move people to take action, that lead to conversion. And if you're doing things that are not aligned with that, that is a form of self-sabotage. If you are spending 3 hours trying to perfect, and this goes into the second form of self-sabotage, for perfectionism, where you're overthinking, you're constantly second guessing, before you send out an email, you're reading it 4 or 5 times. Like, it just sits in the draft folder for 2 or 3 hours. Like, that is a form of self-sabotage. And that's the second form, the most common way that you may be self-sabotaging yourself in your business is through perfectionism. You tell yourself that you can't take action until the right time, or that you believe that you need to be perfect, or that you need to perfect your skills before you move forward, right? Like, these again are forms of self-sabotage, but perfectionism is an impossible standard that keeps you from moving forward, that keeps you from gaining momentum, right? Like, so often, I know so many people are saying, well, Jay, I'm not ready to roll in services that sell. I'm not ready to learn how to start selling until I find the perfect business idea. And it's like, guys, one, You are not going to find the perfect business idea by you like twirling around in your own head. Reason being is because you're not your ideal client. You aren't going to be buying from yourself. And if you've been thinking about and trying to wait until you get the perfect business idea for 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half, and you're still not getting any progress, you're still not gaining any momentum on your business, that is a form of self-sabotage. Like, and the other thing here is if you've been trying to learn how to validate your idea just in your own head, that is like, again, that's a form of self-sabotage, because you need to be following a process to help you validate that. You need to have metrics in place that you're not just making this decision based off of what feels good or bad, but you're making decisions on whether or not this idea will be profitable based off of metrics and data. But that is another form of self-sabotage, waiting until you have the perfect idea, waiting until you have the perfect news feed, waiting until you have the perfect number of followers before you start selling, right? So like your whole goal, like really think about, why did I start my business? I started my, and tell me, let me know in the comments, why did you start your business? I started my business because I wanted to impact more people. Does me being a perfectionist and me procrastinating allow me to impact more people? No. I started my business because I wanted to experience more financial abundance. I wanted to be able to live where I wanted to live, travel when I wanted to travel, purchase the things that I wanted to purchase without having to worry about what dollar amounts in my bank account. Is you allowing perfectionism, waiting until that Canva template is just right, or waiting until you have 1,000 followers on Instagram, or waiting until you've created 15 free opt-ins. And is that really serving that result that you want to achieve? The answer is no. So these are things that, as you're growing in your business, you learning the right strategies is key, but you also learning how to understand what's happening internally is so, so vital for you. So those are the two first most common forms of self-sabotage. Okay. The third one is credibility. And this one I think they're all really big, but I think they creep up for each of us at different stages, right? So the third form of self-sabotage that is most common, that's preventing you from achieving the success that you want in your business, is credibility. And what I mean by that is imposter syndrome. Has anybody felt that before? Imposter syndrome. And what I mean by imposter syndrome, it's it's really an interesting thing where people feel like they don't deserve the accomplishment that they've made, or they don't even recognize the accomplishments they have. Like they internally feel like a fraud, or that they worry that one day somebody will find out that they're not as good as, or whatever, that they're not good enough. And this one is something I definitely struggled with in the very beginning, because I was like, I don't think I'm credible enough to start charging 4 figures for my services. Like, I don't really understand the value of what I'm bringing to the table. And I don't really understand, I don't believe that somebody else will see the value. I don't think I'm credible enough to be charging this much. And I don't know if you can relate to that one. That was really big for me when I stopped charging by the hour, where at first I was doing $50 an hour for a coaching call, or doing $200 for a group coaching program, over a 3-month time period. I was scared to charge a higher price point, because I didn't feel because of imposter syndrome, I didn't feel like I was credible enough. And one thing that really helped me overcome that was I made an evidence list. I made a list of all the education that I had invested in my entire life. So I made a list of every single class I ever took, every college class, every online course, every book that I read. And I also wrote down how much it cost me to acquire that level of knowledge, from how much time it took me to acquire it, how much time I spent working on it, perfecting it, mastering it, and how much money I spent to obtain it. And when I wrote down that evidence list, it's like, dude, you're serious right now? You've spent over $200,000 in education. You've spent over, 6 years of experience doing this. Make an evidence list, because sometimes we forget about the genius and the level of expertise that we bring to the table. And then the other thing that I think is good is not just an evidence list on what you've done for yourself, but I want you to think about every job you have ever held where you had to exercise those skills. And then think about, okay, you did this for somebody else where you got paid. I want you to think about what results were you able to help the organization achieve because of your skill set, because of the work that you did. And when I did that, it was like, okay, like when I remember being an engineer and like some of the strategic planning I had helped do, like some of the sales that I was able to help do. And this is when I really started to build my own confidence in my ability to sell. It's like every job I've had has been sales in some capacity. Even when I was working at Cold Stone in high school, that was my very first job in high school. All we did was sell. I sold ice cream all day. So it was like, how much money did I help that company generate because of my sales? Because of my personality, because of getting people to upselling them into a Love It size ice cream instead of a Like It. How much money was I able to generate just for Cold Stone? And then I used to do auto shows for Chrysler. It's like, how many cars did I help? Was I a part of the selling process because of me being on the auto show floor? How many sales did I do? Now, when I was in corporate, even when I was an intern, I worked at a utility and I was selling people into buying natural gas. So I worked in a department that was like new clients, people who were on propane or some other form of energy. And we were trying to convince them to switch over to buy natural gas. And like just in my internship period alone, my efforts were responsible for over $3 million in sales. And that was in one summer. So it's like, I think a lot of the time especially when you're an employee and when you've been an employee the majority of your life, we fall into these ruts where we don't realize, like we're just so used to showing up, doing work and getting a paycheck and thinking that our skills are only valued at the dollar amount that we receive on our paycheck. And we need to make sure that we understand the difference between worth and value. Your worth as a human being is priceless. The value of the results you're able to help somebody achieve, now that does come with a price tag. And certain things are more valuable than others. Certain things are more expensive than others. So your worth is infinite. Like you are a priceless human being. But the value, there is a dollar amount that is attached to the value. And I think so often when we are, like I said, employees, we forget or we're just not consciously aware because we've always only known that you exchange time for money. The more time you spend, the harder you work, the more you're supposed to make. And the more time you put in, that's when you're allowed to make more money. But that's not the reality of like the real world. Like, especially when you're stepping into entrepreneurship, your income is directly tied to your ability to communicate your value. That's it. And like that's really it. Your income is directly proportional to your ability to communicate the value of what you deliver. And this is why so many people stay stuck. Is because it's you don't know how to communicate the value of what you deliver. You keep just discounting your rates because it's easier to discount and sell somebody on a cheap price versus and this is just a belief that it's easier to discount your prices or to sell cheap offers to get a sale. That's not going to serve you in the long run. Like once you learn the art of selling and the art of communicating the value of what you do, that's when your ability to earn income becomes infinite. So we really have to shift this imposter syndrome, I think, creeps up for so many of us because so many of us have such amazing skills that we have not understood the true value of, and we have not taken the time to even do it at the exercise like I just described to you, the evidence list, to be able to really think through that. Okay. So I hope this is helping you guys so far. We just talked about 3 forms of self-sabotage. There's 2 left that I want to share with you. So the 4th form of self-sabotage that really stops business owners from succeeding is uncertainty. This one will paralyze somebody dead in their tracks and they just stand still, don't move. It's like when you're I know when I've traveled internationally, like when I was in Thailand and there was a huge gecko in the room. It's like, if I just don't move, maybe everything will be okay. Maybe the gecko will go away. And it's like, nah, bruh. But this uncertainty, not knowing what direction to go in. And you will sit there and keep thinking, well, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is right, to the point where you paralyze yourself from ever taking action. And you just get stuck, and you've made a decision. You've just made a decision to do nothing. So you just stand still. And then you wonder why time keeps passing. 6 months have passed, a year has passed, 3 years has passed, and you're still in the exact same position that you are in. Or even worse off, more often than not, when you're somebody that struggles with uncertainty and not knowing what direction to move in, more often than not, what happens is you don't just stand still over time, you end up moving backwards. And you fall into old habits. You fall into things that are really not serving you. And this uncertainty. And I think, so many of us, and I'm not sure, again, when it comes to uncertainty, knowing at least for me, this is how I've been able to get myself to make decisions and become more confident in the choices that I make. Is a lot of the time I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Exactly. This is like the direct form of analysis paralysis. A lot of the time you have to there's like a few things that are coming to mind right now. One thing is, there is no such thing as certainty. So once you have to learn how to just accept the fact that there is no perfect answer. There is no perfect direction to move in. A lot of us, you do need to know what your end destination is. You do need to start to think about, okay, where is it that I actually want to go? And if you're not sure on what destination you want to go to, give yourself some grace. Give yourself the permission to move with uncertainty. Give yourself the permission to say, you know what? I don't know where it is that I want to end up, but I know where I'm at right now isn't where I want to be. So I'm going to start taking proactive action. I'm going to start testing things out. It's like babies, when they're first born, they don't know what food they like and what food they don't like. So what do we do as adults? We let them try this. We let them try this. We let them try this. And then through that experience, they were able to acquire their taste buds and acquire their desired food palette based off of trying new things. So one thing that I think, not knowing what direction to move in, how can you practice this in a safe environment? Go to a new restaurant, buy something new on the menu that you don't normally have. I really struggle with this when it comes to certain things, uncertainty, not knowing what direction to go in. Just yesterday, my fiance and I went down the street. There's a new bakery that opened up in Detroit. And I was in there and I'm I'm going to just get a chocolate chip cookie. He's we're in this super fancy bakery. Jay, try something new. And I was scared. Even something like that, I was scared of trying something new. And I was you know what? I'm going to just do it. So I got some one of their signature bakery items, and I chose to get this French orange lemonade, which are two things I've never had before. And it was again, I'm trying to overcome, because I know that uncertainty is a self-sabotaging behavior that I have. So it's that's one form where you can just start to practice and stretch that muscle. Because I think a lot of the time, why does uncertainty scare us so much? Because we're afraid that we may make the wrong decision. But if you don't even know what the right decision is, how do you know what the wrong one is? And then it's once you overcome that fear and you realize that, okay, even if you do make the wrong decision, what happens? You pivot, you adjust, and you make a different decision. Either there's whenever I'm doing podcast interviews or people ask the question, what's your biggest failure? I really am against it, because I said there's no such thing as failure. There's either, it's just lessons learned. That's it. But so that's another form of self-sabotage, not knowing what direction to move in. And I think a lot of the time, I know for me, especially when it comes to business, particularly, if I know that this is the result I want to get in, but I'm not really sure the GPS coordinates on how to get there, I will invest in somebody else's method. I will invest in somebody else's blueprint. I will invest in somebody else's framework, right? Because I may not know, you don't know what you don't know. And I know how to build a multi-six-figure business, but I'm at a point now where I don't know how to build a 7-figure business. I don't know, strategically, I think I can crunch the numbers. It's not magic, it's just math. I can crunch the numbers to figure out, okay, this is how many sales I would need to get at this price point, at this conversion rate to hit $1 million. But I'm not fully sure on who do I need to become? How does my identity need to evolve in order for me to obtain that type of wealth? So instead of me just trying to guess and spend like, trying to figure it out on my own, I will invest in other people's framework. I will invest in other processes. And it's so interesting how when it comes to business, we can, like kind of delay making that type of choice. But when it came to our traditional education, we didn't hesitate, right? Like when I wanted to become an engineer, when I made the decision to say I want to be an engineer, I did not hesitate. Okay, I don't know the direction I'm supposed to go in to be an engineer. So what did I do? I enrolled in a university who gave me a curriculum, who told me I needed to learn these things if I wanted to acquire the skill set to be deemed, by society standards an engineer. The same thing is true in your business. So if you're not sure what direction you should be going in, invest in somebody who has a blueprint that's living the lifestyle or experiencing the results that you want to have, and make the choice to you don't need to know all the things. You really just need to make the decision on following somebody else's framework and investing in somebody else's process, because that will at least get you closer to where it is that you want to go. There may be parts of their process that, oh, I need to tweak this here or adjust this here, but that will at least get you closer to where it is that you want to go. And then the fifth form of the most common type of self-sabotage that stops business owners from experiencing success is consistency. Like their inability to be consistent. This is probably one of the most detrimental ones because so many business owners don't succeed because they quit too soon. They don't show up consistently. They're constantly changing their messaging. They're constantly changing their product suite. They're constantly introducing new offers, new things, to the point where their audience base, us, your clientele, have no idea what the heck you're selling. Like this, they have a lack of patience. They give up too soon. These are like kind of ways that this area of self-sabotage really presents itself. Like imagine if you were a lover of, what's a place that I love to go? Like imagine I love Panera Bread. Panera Bread is one of my favorite places to get their tuna sandwiches. And imagine if you went into Panera Bread one week and they had their normal lineup of breads, soups, sandwiches, all the things. Imagine if next week you went to Panera Bread and their doors were closed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like, what's going on? Y'all say y'all open until 9. Let me give you guys some examples of some bad places that are doing it. So if you live downtown Detroit, I'm putting them straight on blast because it pisses me off. There's a place called Lovers Only. They're a new burger joint downtown Detroit. Brand new. They've been in business for maybe a year or something down here. But the reason, consistency, they are self-sabotaging their success. They used to stay open every day to 9 or 10 o'clock at night. As business went on, they started closing the doors early because people weren't showing up. So they would close at 8. They would close at 7:30. They would close at 6. Now, great, you can still order online, right? One time we ordered a sandwich online. We ordered a burger online because they were supposed to be open until 10 o'clock. But guess what? We order online, order our food, walk down to Lovers Only and tell me why their doors are locked, lights are off, and no employees inside. Lack of consistency. That is a form of self-sabotage. And so many of you guys are doing that in your own businesses. One day you say, I have a business. You do one live stream video. You're like, okay, if I build it, they will come. And then you wonder why, I'm not getting sales, Jay. I think I'm going to just quit and stop doing this. I'm going to stop showing up. I'm going to stop telling people that this is the service that I deliver. Your inability to be consistent, your lack of patience, giving up too soon is killing your ability to succeed. And if you think of any successful business, they showed up and consistently delivered a consistent result on a regular basis. You have to do the same. But one thing I want you to know is clarity and confidence comes from doing the work, not delaying the decision. And that is something that I heard from Brooke Castillo. I listened to a podcast episode she said yesterday, and I thought that rang so true for me, that confidence comes from doing the work, not delaying the decision. And if you keep closing your doors, if you keep, one day you're selling burgers, and next day you're selling Chinese food, the next day you're selling oodles of noodles, come on. Your clientele base, Starbucks, is so successful because regardless of what Starbucks you go into, the latte is going to taste the same. You're going to be greeted the same way by the staff. you are going to experience the same type of environment regardless of which location you walk into. And your consistency is what builds trust. Your consistency is what builds predictability. And if you are constantly being inconsistent, constantly not showing up, constantly closing your doors, relaunching your business, shutting down your website, rechanging your offers over and over and over again, like nobody's able to build trust to know what it is that you do. You're not establishing yourself as an authority, as an expert, as something that people can rely on. And you have to make sure that you're being consistent in your business. So when it comes to all these forms of self-sabotage, I want you to think about which one of these that we talked about, procrastination, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, uncertainty or analysis paralysis, or consistency, which one of those is most, really is your biggest form of self-sabotage? Which one of those things stops you the most from achieving success? And just pop it in the comment and let me know. Share it with me. What is your number one form of self-sabotage based on just the 5 that we shared today? And I want you guys to make a very conscious decision right now. I think it's by no accident that you're listening to this right now, that you're hearing my voice. I want you to give yourself permission. So whatever your form of sabotage is, whatever the one that creeps up for you the most, right now, I want you to make a decision to give yourself permission to start making choices that better align with the results that you want to give, that you want to achieve. I want you right now to give yourself permission. Say that, you know what, I am allowed, I am worthy, I am enough, I am capable of making, even it may be a hard decision, I'm willing to start making decisions that better serve me, that better serve the person that I want to become, that better serve the goals that I want to accomplish. Even if they feel scary, even if I'm not sure, I know that what I'm doing right now, the decision of staying stagnant, the decision of waiting until everything is perfect, the decision until waiting until the right time is not serving me. So I'm going to make the decision to say, what would success do? And I'm going to make decisions based off of the future version of myself, of what the successful version of myself would do and would not hesitate to do. That's what I want you to give yourself permission to do today. And one thing, I know I talk about this a lot, even over in some of my goal planning episodes on the podcast, is that you need to stop making goals and stop creating plans. You need to start making priorities, right? Because so many of us, we're going to make this goal, and then the goal gets delayed because of one of these forms of self-sabotage. The reason why it gets delayed is because it is not a priority. And you have to decide, what is your priority? Is your priority to stay comfortable, to stay stagnant, to stay in the position that you are in right now? Which is a lot of the decisions you're probably making if you're not getting the results that you want is because you're allowing comfort and stagnation to be your primary priority versus growth being your priority. Because if you're growing, you are stretching, you are evolving, you are changing, you are making decisions that may be scary, but you know that are serving the future version of yourself. Which is your priority? And it's just a decision. Like, once you become aware of these things, all it is now is a choice. It's just a choice. You can choose to remain comfortable, or you can choose to grow. You can choose to maintain, and be stagnant, or you can choose momentum. You can choose to keep doing things the way that you've always been doing them, and you will keep getting the results that you've always been getting. Or you can make it a priority, not a goal. Stop setting goals. You need to set priorities. A priority is something that you are committed to, that you are dedicated to. It's like marriage. You don't just, marriage is a lifetime commitment. It is a priority. It is something that once you are in, you can't be 50% in and 50% out of a marriage. Either you're in or you're out. There's no fuzzy gray line sitting on the fence. Either you're in a relationship that you are committed to until death do you part, till sickness, I haven't done my vows yet, but I know that part of the vow. But either you're committed to it or you're not. So for you, you have to make a decision when it comes to your business, when it comes to how you choose to show up as the CEO, as the entrepreneur, as the person who wants to create the impact. What is the biggest priority? And then once you identify what your priority is your priority to impact more people? Is your priority to help solve other people's problems? Is your priority to radically change the financial situation of your household? Is your priority to remove the glass ceiling that currently exists in your corporate environment so you can have control over your income? Or is your priority to remain comfortable, to remain stagnant, to keep staying status quo, to keep playing small? Choose what your priority is and then make decisions that serve that priority. It will not be easy, but it's very, very simple, guys. So I just want to share that with you today. I know many of you guys are on the edge right now, thinking and considering about enrolling in Services That Sell. Services That Sell is my premium program. It's an 8-week online academy that teaches you how to validate your idea, package your idea into a high-ticket offer, and to learn how to sell it consistently using live stream video and sales calls. And the goal of Services That Sell is to help you generate multiple 4 figures a month in your business by converting $1,500 to $10,000 clients at a time. So if you're on the edge and one of these forms of self-sabotage is stopping you from making a decision, I invite you to do some self-reflection today. I invite you to make your evidence list. I invite you to decide what is going to be a priority for you. Make decisions that now serve that priority, and give yourself permission to go be great. Like, so many of us are waiting for somebody else to validate us, waiting for somebody else to co-sign our idea, waiting for somebody else to say, give us the green light. Like, you have the authority. You have the ability to give yourself the permission, and you need to do that. So if you're interested in enrolling in Services That Sell, we do close enrollment soon. Enrollment will not be open for that much longer. I invite you guys to go check out Services That Sell. See if it's a good fit for you. And if you have any questions at all about whether or not this is a good fit, whether or not now is the right time, what have you, there is a little yellow chat box at the bottom right-hand corner of the page. You can click that, ask whatever questions you may have, and myself and my team will be there to be able to answer your questions. But again, I just want to encourage you to stop letting these forms of self-sabotage hold you back from achieving the success that you want in your business, achieving the results that you want to experience in your life. You know, start to gain control over these self-sabotaging behaviors and start making decisions and taking action that is aligned with the goal that you want to achieve. And that's things that are really, aligned with who it is that you want to become. And I hope to see you. If you're ready to start enrolling high-ticket clients consistently, I really do look forward to seeing you on the other side and inside of Services That Sell. So have a great day, guys.